If you were born at probably any point of the 1980s or even the early 90s, there's a huge chance that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a huge part of your childhood. If that's the case, the brief suspense of this freeze frame moment was probably monumentally exciting for you. But how well does the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie hold up today? The movie brings much of the same teenage surfer bro tone of the main characters that was familiar in the cartoon, but it also has somewhat of a dark and gritty tone to it all in a lot of places. Much more so than what you would expect out of what is basically a kids movie back in 1990. Because it is a kids movie though, a lot of what's going on is fairly cheesy and very dumbed down to where a kid could hopefully kind of understand what's happening. The wallet theft at the beginning is almost laughably bad, and the first introduction to the Turtles has some incredibly cheesy dialogue between them. But honestly, the movie does a good job of setting the stage for things with the initial news report detailing the crime wave. And along with it all, you have a pretty good soundtrack accompanying things for the most part. In a big way, it feels like during this movie's production, they kept going back and forth over whether or not it was going to stay a kids movie or go more with the dark and gritty adult theme to it all. Probably the biggest weaknesses in regards to the production of the film is that it was very clearly not rocking a very high budget and seemed very much rushed out. Some scenes just don't serve much of a purpose at all, or serve their purpose poorly. The first scene between Raphael and Casey Jones, for example, is pretty cringeworthy all around. They could have easily shaved off 5 to 10 minutes of useless filler in places and added that back into deepening what they only briefly mention in regards to April O'Neil's findings about ties from the Foot Clan of old to the new Foot Clan currently in New York. The fight scenes are also a far cry from things we'd see in action films today, but at times still cheesy and fun in that kids movie kind of way. And admittedly, parts of the rooftop fight between Raphael and the Foot is pretty cool. The introduction to the Shredder is also undeniably badass. While many aspects of the story arc are kind of jumbled, that story arc is still pretty well done in my opinion. We're introduced to the characters and what appears to be somewhat of a new beginning for them. We're also introduced to the threat at hand, and before too long, everything our heroes once knew has been taken from them. All hope seems to be lost, it's them against the world, and they have nobody to turn to but each other. They regroup, grow stronger together, and eventually are prepared to save their master and defeat the Shredder. On the whole, to say this movie entirely holds up, unfortunately, would not be accurate. But at the same time, it still holds up quite a bit better than you would think it would. Despite a decent amount of poor writing, the movie still brings a good bit of a dark and gritty tone that's all the rage these days in superhero movies. And it does it, at least in my opinion, quite a bit better than you would expect. So that's it for my very first edition of Does It Hold Up? Whatever thoughts you might have, please feel free to share them in the comments, as well as any suggestions you might have of other movies or video games that you'd like to see me go back and review. Also, be sure to click that like button if you enjoyed this video. You know I always appreciate that. And above all else, everybody, thanks so much for watching.